Hello, everybody. We wait a couple of minutes as I see there are many of you that are still joining the session, and then we are ready to start. Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this joint initiative of the 3 ENRICH centers aimed at sharing with you very practical tips on how to best pitch your business to international partners. My name is Chiara Davalli, and I'm Senior Project Leader at EBN, the European Business Innovation Center Network, a proud member and partner of the 3 centers, ENRICH centers. First of all, let me inform you that the session is recorded and that both the recordings and the slides will be shared with you all by the end of tomorrow, as soon as they are ready to be shared. Second tech information is that you can raise your questions and comments in the chat box you see on the platform. We'll run a first Q&A session right after the first speaker and one at the very end of the webinar. Okay. So all set and we can start. So you see here the structure of our session that builds on 2 main blocks. First one is the pitching training, business pitching training, and the second one is a pitching session presenting you in a short and convincing manner the services the ENRICH centers can offer to startups and SMEs looking to expand their businesses to Brazil, China, USA, and Europe. Together with me, so I'm not alone in this journey, but together with me are several people and experts. First of all, Peter Lazu, who's tech investor and venture builder with plenty of experience in supporting entrepreneurs all around the world. So he will be running the first part, the training, and then we'll move to the second block with Felipe Cassapo, Richard Deng, and Robert Sanders, representing the 3 centers. Centers that received funding from the European Commission to establish strategic partnership in science, technology, and innovation between Europe and China and USA and Brazil by encouraging cooperation between, indeed, the EU and these countries, and mainly the research, innovation, and business stakeholders, and by establishing self-sustainable centers. Well, here we are, and you will hear about our services for you. I just want to highlight a key service that the centers offer, that is the soft landing one. Basically, we have built a community of trusted partner organizations in China, in Brazil, and in the USA that can help European companies to enter, to approach these markets for the very first time. And on the other side, of course, the 3 centers are here also to help companies from these 3 countries to approach the European market. So you will hear more about this in the pitching session. But okay, together with us is also the audience, it's you. So we would like to learn a bit about who's on the other side of the screen. So I would ask you to answer a few questions. First of all, if you represent a startup, an SME, an incubator, tech park, or business support organization, or any other type of organization. So you have 10 more seconds to answer this first poll. Okay, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I close it. Okay, I see lots of intermediaries, but also SMEs, a bit less startups, and then we have also 1/3 of other. Okay, we go with the second question. So learning about you guys. We ask you, where are you based? If you are based in Europe, Brazil, China, US, or another country or area. You have 5 more seconds to answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I see most of you are from Europe, then Brazil, good percentage, and the USA. Okay, great. I close this poll, and then I go for a third one, and we would like to ask you, what are you looking for by attending this webinar? So if you're interested in European market, Brazilian, Chinese, US, or the pitching training only. I close the poll in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and I close it. Okay, most of you, I see a good percentage, 20% interested in the pitching training, 20% in US market, 20% in the Brazilian market, 7% in Chinese market, and 30% in the European market. Great. And then we go for the fourth and last poll. It's just wanted to know if you already know a bit about the ENRICH centers and the services we offer to you. It's a yes and no answer, so I give you 5 seconds, and 3, 2, 1. 70% of you doesn't know much about the centers and the services we offer, and the rest already know. So good. I think it's going to be an interesting session then. Okay, so thank you very much. So we know who's behind the screen. You know me, you know the experts that will join the conversation, and we know a little bit more about you guys. So we are ready to start, and I now give the floor to Peter Lazo, who's going to give us some tips and concrete inputs on how to pitch our businesses. So Peter, floor is yours. I'm going to assign you the role of moderator. Just 1 second. Okay, here we go. Don't forget, you can raise your questions in the chat box, so I'll be collecting them. So at the end of this presentation, we'll take a first round of Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Chiara, for that, for the introduction, and good afternoon, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where in the world you are. I guess just a bit of an extension to my background before we begin, to give you some perspective on you know, the presentation I'm going to show. I've been investing in technology companies and building tech companies for over 20+ years. Had 3 successful exits of my own. Spent quite a bit of time in advisory and mentoring capacities, but thoroughly enjoy helping aspiring entrepreneurs get off on their grounds, and SMEs and companies, looking at different ways to be able to present themselves and present their businesses to maximize potential. And I guess in this current disruptive state that we're in, we need to be creative and innovative in the way we do that. So I guess the question that everyone really asks is, you know, what are the ingredients for a good pitch? And you know, the problem I have today is that, you know, most commonly what people do is go to Google, download all these different templates, and they all pretty much say the same thing in what you need. But what it doesn't really reflect is you. It doesn't really reflect your company, in how, you know, the story that you want to present. And, you know, what you have to bear in mind with every presentation or every pitch that you present is you have 30 seconds to make, if you like, an introduction to yourself, a way of being able to engage your audience. And this is absolutely paramount in what happens. And if you've lost that 30 seconds, then, you know, people start to drift. So it's very, very important that whatever you do is make sure you engage the audience. And, you know, when you're doing a presentation or a pitch, there's what we call the attention grabber, and then at the very end there's the attention retainer. And the attention grabber is really used to grab the attention, and it may be something that you want them to think about while you're presenting, or pitching, depending on the circumstance. And at the very end, you want to leave them with a retainer, something for them to think about, whether it was something you said during the presentation, but sort of like the grabber and the retainer should come together at some point in time at the end. And your presentations must stand out. And, you know, whether, I mean, you know, today in the lockdown world we're in, a lot of these presentations and pitches are now being done by webinars. And one of the problems that people have is that they try to fill their screens up with information. And you'll see from my presentation that it's just images, because images really tell a story on its own. But your goal and why you need to stand out is you need to somehow create an emotional connection between you talking to the image that's being shown. Sometimes they may not be aligned, but that's your job to make it aligned and to focus. So in this instance, this slide here, I've got the iPhone 7, an old version of the iPhone 7. But the point being here is that you understand that emotional connection with that product on the screen. So make sure your presentations really do stand out, because it emphasizes to the audience that you've taken time to put something together that's meaningful and engaging. And at the same time, you need to stand out. So, you know, it doesn't make sense in having a really cracking presentation, but then you don't stand out yourself. And, you know, I always say to people as well, never change the way you are to try and suit an audience. Okay, you've got to be you. You've got to be this individual, this person presenting that's sincere with integrity. And I'll touch on that later. But the point here is that you need to stand out at the same time, whether it's you know, the way you dress, the way you present. And again, presenting as we're doing now, I can't see any of you. So, and you can't. So all you can see is the screen. But you need to have that emotion when you're presenting, and have that passion and energy, and that really does then materialize onwards. So we talked about integrity, absolutely paramount when you're presenting your business, that you present it with that ability, and at the same time, you don't want to come across as what I call a wheeler dealer, you know, a salesperson who's all is interested is in making money. For sure, we all like to make money, but it's not the end all. And most important thing is the longevity. You know, why are you doing what you are doing? Why are you pitching your business? Because you want long-term revenue opportunities and long-term customer retention, rather than just trying to come in and win a quick buck and go. You have to also show off and showcase your company. You know, really, you know, really elevate this to the point where, you know, you're pitching your business, but it's not just about you, it's about what you bring to the table. And it's also to demonstrate the capabilities of your company, it's the team itself, or maybe the people who'll be supporting. So it's all aspects of the business that you really need to showcase and bring to the forefront. What I will say, by the way, while I'm talking, is that the way I've got my slides are in no means in any order. Okay, these are just things that the way I like to present. But you know, again, when you're creating your pitch deck or creating your presentation, you need to build it around a storyboard. And you know, one of the best ways of creating a presentation or a pitch is not PowerPoint, by the way. Okay, it's not Keynote, if you know Keynote. It's Post-it notes. For me, one of the best inventions ever. All right, people rush too quickly to try and put graphics and diagrams on a PowerPoint presentation and lose focus of everything they're trying to do. So your job at the very, very beginning, no matter who you're going to go and present to, is use Post-it notes to build your presentation on a wall, because Post-it notes can be moved around. And that way you can begin to say, right, what do I want to say in my first slide, to what I want to say in my 20th slide or my 5th slide, whatever it may be. But then you can stand back from the wall and you can look at your presentation, and now it will make sense. If it doesn't make sense, you just play around with those Post-it notes to make sense. And then once you've got that detail, then you can come back into your presentation platform to start building the presentation. Just a point to make here. Also, make sure you showcase your achievements. A lot of people discard the achievement side, and that's really, really important, because it can also set you apart from the competition, who you're up against. So it's very, very important that you present your achievements. And a critical factor is making sure that you know your market, you know the country that you're going to go in, you know the company you're going to go in, you know the country you're going to go in, you know the market of that country. These are so critical, because you need to be seen to be knowledgeable, okay? Because that then sort of leads into what I say here, which is know who's playing in your back garden. You need to know the country that you're in, you need to know the market that you're in, but most importantly, who's also in my playground. We call it the competitive landscape, okay? I try and stay away from the word competitors, because I think we all live in this landscape where we all sit in. And this, by the way, is a great opportunity where, you also, I'll come back to that side, but it also allows you to set aside why you're so different to what the landscape is that you're in. Another key area is your audience. And this is really, really vital. You really need to know all about the company that you're presenting to. If you're a startup and you're presenting to investors, you need to know who your investor audience is. But this is absolutely paramount, when you're presenting. Okay, you need to know everything about what happens. It's about you, what makes you, what makes you unique, and what you can offer. So you need to be able to bring those things together. I talk about know your customer, which is really, when I talk about the audience, it depends on how you're presenting your company. It could be to an individual customer, it could be to an audience that you want to get your product or services across. But bottom line is, you really do need to know your customer, what makes them tick, what is it that they're actually after. Okay, we talk about, in the startup world, there's always to talk about, the problem, the solution, whatever. But the key thing here is that, why has your customer come to you, and what is it that is a good fit for you and that customer? So really get to the, do your homework before you go in, and all these pieces will then slowly come together. So, my point being is that you really need to prepare well and prepare for the unexpected. Because many times have I seen, and look, I've been through this myself, over many years, from the presentations and pitches that I've done, is what you don't want to happen is to be what I call chewed up and spat out. That's not a bad thing, but it's a way of being able to know where you've gone wrong and start again. But it also can be very, very costly if you don't prepare, because sometimes you only get one chance to go and pitch or present. If you're lucky, you may get a second chance. But most importantly, first impressions, knowing about the company that you're going into, knowing about their market that they're in, again, knowing about the playground I talked about. So being so well prepared is absolutely crucial. And that's what makes you stand out, because people buy people, investors invest in founders, and that's key. You may have a fantastic product or service, but if you come across as arrogant and you come across as sleazy, then all that doesn't play any part in the opportunity. So make sure you're well prepared. Again, understand the pain point. What is it that the customer's needs are, and why have they sort of shortlisted your company. It could be that you've done a cold call. It could be there's been a referral. But the bottom line is that you really need to understand that pain point and understand, you know, for you, how do I go in there? How do I go and present and challenge that opportunity that's been there? So your job, by understanding that opportunity, is then being able to, as I say, demonstrate the opportunity, how you see it, and you begin to build this story around, or the picture around, you know, what your company can do, and the products and the services you can provide to be able to accomplish some of the pain points or help. You know, have in mind as well that sometimes, you know, in the startup world, we get too hooked up, for example, on it's the problem. It may not be a problem. You know, it may just be an opportunity. There may be a gap in the market. And so in this instance, it's the same thing. You know, you could be going and pitching your company because there's a gap in the market, and what you have fits in that. So really, you know, step back and try and understand to make sure you get that part right. The key also is making sure you get across your uniqueness. Why are you standing out in the playground that you play in the competitive landscape that you're in? And this is absolutely paramount. And you know, for me, it's I also call it the magic sauce scenario. Again, if you're stripping this out, if you're you know, startups going in pitching to investors, for example, you know, you're not going to give away your magic sauce, but you sort of need to share with them your uniqueness or what makes you so special. And if you're presenting to your business, you know, to grab that business or retain the business, you need to be on top of what makes you so unique. So as a company, you always need to be, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead of the game. You really need to be thinking long term. You need to be thinking, how can I retain this customer? What can I keep bringing to the table that will make them come back and come back? And how can I keep this recurring revenues from, you know, being delivered back to us rather than to go someone else, you know? And you know, it's at the same time, you've also got to be knowledgeable about the landscape that you're in with regards to what are others around you doing, and keep on top of that. So research is so key. That's why the knowledge and being prepared is important. I throw this slide in because I think we also live in a world today where everyone's very conscious about being socially responsible, being green. You know, we've got all the issues around climate, and you know, all companies now are trying to do their parts. But you know, for me, there's this term called corporate social responsibility, but I like to call it corporate social innovation. So this is the, you know, again, if you want to stand out for the crowd, what is the innovation? What's the corporate social innovation that you bring to the table based upon, you know, again, if you're trying to win some business, what is it that you're doing that will sort of resonate with that company that you're presenting to? And again, knowing what that company does, how they do things, will help you understand how you pitch this part to it. But again, you're being seen to be doing your part to this as well. The other areas to demonstrate your actualization plan. So, you know, it's always good at the same time to demonstrate how you would implement or execute your product or service. Again, understanding how they do things, what they do, is key. And I think in anything that you do, there's always the why, the what, and the how. And this is really important that you think about this at the very, very beginning of any pitch you do or any presentation you do. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I doing? And how am I doing it? And once you've decided and you've understood the why, the what, and the how, you then flip it so it becomes the how, the what, the why sort of thing, because working backwards will really help you. So again, when you're getting ready to do a presentation, and like I said, if you use my suggestion of using the post-it notes, you put on the side the why, the what, the how, and this becomes, you know, like a measurable thing for you, because it's so important that you understand, you know, what is my company doing, how do we do things, why do we do things, etc. And that will allow you to build a presentation and create a story around what works for you when you're presenting. And like all these things, again, whether you're a startup and you're pitching for investment, just a quick one for the startups is that have in mind, whenever you're pitching to investors, you never pitch for money, you pitch for time, because that's what's really important. You buy time, and once time you create the, if you like, the love affair, then that's when the money will start flowing. And the same rule really applies to businesses. What you want to do is buy time to be able to really get the business who you're pitching to fall in love with you as to why you're so good, why your product or service will be so valuable, etc. So you create this really engaging emotional connection with your audience that thinks, they walk away thinking, now that was a really, really cool presentation, that was a really, really cool pitch, really get what these guys are doing, this product or service can really help us, etc. So the ask really is, in this case, you can talk about the ask being, whether you're a startup asking for the monetary amount, but as a business, it could be, what is it going to cost them to implement that product or service? And again, be smart, be creative with the way your business models work, and how you present your costings, etc. And think about the long term all the time. Sometimes, you can give things away if it makes sense, but again, it's really important that someone sees value in what you're doing, because everyone knows, and we see individually, we know that things are not cheap. And again, investors know that investing in a startup is not cheap. And then at the same time, companies who want to buy into products, or you're pitching for business, they also know it's not cheap. So it's one of those things, you've got to find that setting point that works for both. I talked about it at the beginning, it's not about money. So never pitch and present always thinking at the back of your mind, the number sign, the pound signs, the dollar signs, or whatever the currency signs you have in your mind. This will happen. Money will always come if you do a good job at presenting and pitching. Okay, if you don't, then you'll end up looking greedy and too interested in the short-term gain rather than the long-term gain. So, and that's what I lead on to this here, which really is all about long-term gain. You need to focus on the recurring customer, recurring sales, recurring revenues, and even as a startup, if you've got a business model, investors love recurring revenues because that's where they see their return on investment, and that's how you've also got to look at it. And customers in longevity is key for you as well. And the last slide, really, it's about the journey that you take someone on. And what I want you to try and think about is this: is whether you're a startup pitching for funding, whether you're an SME or a larger company going out to present, what you've got to try and do is pick people up from their seats and take them around on a journey. All right, take them on this fantastic journey, a story that you're telling them that makes sense, they can comprehend to, and you bring them back and you sit them down. And for them, in some ways, to open their eyes and to say, wow, I really get it. And that's the emotional connection that you need to drive. And whether you're doing it like I'm doing it now, blindfoldedly with you guys, but I hope I've taken you on a sort of a journey that helps you start to think about, okay, well, if I need to pitch, I need to pitch in this way, or I need to present my company in this way, I need to do it that way. But it's all about the passion, the way you present, the way you talk. If you've got the opportunity to do it physically in front of someone, which hopefully one day we will soon, the use of your hands, the way you present, and as I said, emphasize the strengths and capabilities of your company is absolutely paramount. So I hope it's a short and sweet presentation, but I hope it's helped, and happy to answer any questions that you may have, to help you guys.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much.
I'll stop sharing my screen now, shall I? Or
wait, just 1 second.
Okay.
I take it back. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So back to the audience. Do you have any question for Peter? Comments about the journey he just presented to us and basically brought us with him. Do you have any question? I think that when you were mentioning the importance of seeing as knowledgeable about the market, the country where you want to go, you want to approach with your company, well, there is where the centers come in, can help you guys, entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, knowing more about these destinations and clear your doubts about the right partners, stakeholders, and sectors that you might look into when approaching indeed the Brazilian, the Chinese, the US, and European landscapes. As I see,
Yeah,
there are no
it's very important that yeah, that's a very important point you made, Chiara, because it's so critical that you know how we typically believe that if we go to, whatever we do in our country may be the same somewhere else, but it's not true. So you've really got to understand what how people the ethics and the how people work in different countries and what turns them on, doesn't turn them on, etc. So very important what you just said.
And
so I've either done a good job or a bad job. There's no questions.
We'll see. We'll ask the audience their opinion about the webinar at the very end. But I have another question for you, Peter.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask you on practical side. You were saying that I loved the picture, let's say, you gave us about creating the love affair. So usually you don't say everything about you, when you want to when you approach someone for the very first time. So I was wondering how when you do the pitch, indeed you have to present the why, the what, and the how. I have a question about the pitch deck. You were mentioning this instrument, this tool. So this must be, for a good pitch deck, so the supporting materials you are providing to investors or partners later on, if they accept to give you more time, what should be in a pitch deck?
Okay, so again, if you're pitching to investors, I think that the key message really is to really get across the product or the service or the what you're trying to present comes across, and they get it very, very quickly. And I think people get confused when they say, right, if you've got 2 minutes, use 5 slides. You've got 20 minutes, you've got 10 slides, etc. I think you need to get rid of that mentality of thinking, and what you have to do is you prepare your presentation in the way it makes sense for you in the amount of time that you have. So if, for example, someone gives you 20 minutes of their time, that's a long time to be standing there presenting. So you've got an opportunity now to really stand out from the crowd and present in such a way that makes it very, very different. If you're given 2 minutes to present, then again it's a completely different presentation. So the same rules apply to when you're presenting your business. Why should they invest their money and longevity, if you like, with you. You need to again be able to touch on those capabilities on what each slide will represent a uniqueness about you, so that it comes across tangible, comes across sincere, and that you really can do and you can deliver what you say you can deliver. And that's why I said some success stories, testimonials, all these really, really help. So again, it's all about knowing the audience, and so your pitch deck really is about that. And you know what most people do is that they don't prepare well, and then suddenly you've got an audience. So let's say if you're a startup presenting to investors, you know, just like investors will look at your background before you even step into the room or whatever to speak to you or to listen to you, you do the same too. You need to make sure that you've got something on them that you know will make them tick. So you know, again, that's just being clever and smart in, you know you're going to say something, so I'm going to address it so that they say, oh, I resonate with that. And again, the same principles lie. But I guess my point, Kiara, is that a pitch deck is one thing, a presentation is another. And I think the two sometimes get confused. If you saw what I've done today, it's a presentation. So I'm talking, so you're listening to me, and you're, you know, like now you're recording it, so you've got what I'm saying. But if you're sending a pitch deck, me sending this deck out has no relevance to anyone other than, you know, it's a picture, great pictures. So the pitch deck has to be, you know, nice and clean, but to the point. All right. So that each person understands, okay, this relates to that, this relates to this, etc.
Great, thank you. And in the meantime, Peter, we received a few questions. So the first one is, so we have three. I go by one by one. So my startup is from Brazil, and veterinary clinical research organization, and my customers are from developed countries. My question is, what is more important, selling in local costs or considering always dollar or euro costs? So this is
so the question is what currency should I be presenting in? Is that correct?
So the question is about how to express costs, I think, if in local values, or for example in dollars or euro costs.
Okay. All right, that's an interesting one. If you're presenting your startup to a mixed audience, okay, then the dollar value is obviously world recognized. Okay, so just stick to a dollar value. It's probably the easiest. Okay, but if you're pitching to locals, you know, when you're in the local, you know, your local, in your own country to locals, then you definitely would need to do it in the, you know, the currency of your location. But normally, you know, the rule of thumb really is, I mean, in presentations, you just use dollar because it's just world known, you know.
Yeah,
it makes more sense.
Okay, thank you. Then there is another question about numbers. You didn't mention numbers. Would you not include them in a pitch? You touched up on this point, but maybe you want to say something.
Okay, when we talk about numbers, we talk about financial projections.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
In this case, they say numbers, so I don't know if they refer, probably they. Yes, okay. He says, wait, yes, so probably ACO, sorry, can you write in the chat what do you refer to? Let's see. Financial projections, yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming it's a startup. Okay, so again, I have a very different view when it comes to financial projections, and I'll put my hat on as an investor for a second, okay, to tell you this. You know, when you look at pitch decks, there's always a section on, you know, you've got to show me your 3 to 5 year projections, okay. As a startup, what you have to bear in mind is you don't know if you're going to be alive for the next 6 months or the next 12 months. That's just fact. So what you can do, the best way of showing revenue projections is basically showing 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. Because a 3-year projection, I can make, you know, you can make numbers look absolutely fantastic, but they're meaningless, especially if you've not done anything in the market yet. So if you're going new into the market, you've got nothing to judge your past results on. If you've been trading for 3, 4, 5 years, then you can do 3-year projections because you've got that backbone of information that can give you an idea. But as a startup who's just started, my advice will be you demonstrate your 6 month, 12 month, 18, what I call run rate. Okay, this is what I need to achieve, and if I've achieved that in the 12 months, I want to achieve the next stage, and then 18 months down the road. Because any sensible investor will look at that and say, I understand you. Okay, because especially today in the current COVID crisis and this pandemic, we don't know. There are startups who may not even survive in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so it's about making sure you know your numbers and presenting those numbers that are meaningful rather than just numbers because you want to look good. And also, when we talk about financial projections, no investor is going to expect you to make a profit in the first year. Okay, if you're an existing business, obviously, you would have had that curve change. But as a startup, it'll take you 2-3 years before you make profit, unless you're really, really lucky and you've got onto a fantastic start, which is brilliant. But be conservative when you present. Most importantly, if you're presenting numbers, make sure you know your numbers. So make sure you know what your revenue is going to be, what your costs are going to be, and what your profit's going to be. It's absolutely paramount, because no investor wants to invest money in founders where they don't know their numbers. Because if I'm going to give you 500,000 or $1 million, I want to make sure you know what you're doing with numbers. So absolutely very, very important when you're presenting financial projections.
Great, thank you. One more question: how do you personally deal with presenting through an interpreter?
I've had that done. It's I think what you have to do when you're going to present to a multilingual audience, and you're going to have an interpreter, you talk slowly, and you talk at a pace. So you pace yourself to give the interpreter the opportunity to keep the same momentum as you. I mean, they should be good enough to keep up the pace. A professional interpreter will certainly know. But for me, it's again, just slow yourself down, and speak clearly, and get the points you want to get across that will allow the interpreter to follow your journey. And one piece of advice as well is that if you know who the interpreter is going to be, one thing is to actually go through the presentation or the pitch with them, so they know, or they have a copy of what slide you're on, so that they can keep up the same speed and etc. So it's just about being prepared more than anything. But yeah, just take time out to share with them what you're going to be saying, or any questions that may arise out of that what you're presenting.
Great, thank you, Peter. So,
with pleasure.
As time goes by, I would now move to the next part of the webinar. So we are going to hear from the 3 centers about the services they can offer to the companies. And we start with the Brazilian center. So Felipe Cassapo is going to give you a short pitch about Enriching Brazil. You have 5 minutes, and let's try, guys, to stick to the to the time we have available. I'm going to share the screen with you.
All right.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Felipe. Good morning, in your case.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Right. So, okay, I'm going to present right now. All right. Okay, so it's going to be a huge challenge, of course, for me right now to make a short pitch after this wonderful presentation of Peter Ladzu, right? First thing I would like to say is, of course, thank you for the opportunity of sharing this moment with you, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're good. Everybody knows we are facing now quite challenging times, but also this is a wonderful moment for all of us to show what we're here for, to show that science, technology, innovation, and multinational collaboration can make the difference, right? We can use science, technology, innovation to address the troubled time, the challenge that we have facing right now. Right, so I'm going to explain a little bit what is ENRICH in Brazil and show that we are basically here to serve you, whatever you need in order to collaborate with Brazil for science, technology, innovation, and for making business. So, first thing I would like to say about ENRICH in Brazil is that this is a formal, a legally established, and a professional association in Brazil, in the sense that we have implemented here all the good practices of governance in terms of having a director board and administration council, so that we are really a professional association that will help whoever needs to make collaboration happen between Europe, Brazil, or wherever in the world in terms of science, technology, and innovation. We are very pragmatic, we are very hands-on, and what we do really want is to uncomplicate things, to be more pragmatic, to be quicker, and to make things happen easily for whoever needs to get in touch with Brazil and make innovation happen. In order to do so, we gather together world-class partners, whether public institutions, private sectors, universities, investors, startups, big companies, whoever needs to get in touch for making innovation happen. And we connect, these players in order to make this happen between Europe and Brazil. We are also a matchmaker for funding solutions, right? Whether public or private money in order to invest and develop your innovation in Brazil. And we are also a strategic partner for entering the Brazilian and the Latin American market. We also help developing state-of-the-art innovation policies, of course, between Europe and Brazil for research, innovation, and business. It's important for you to know also that we have a well-established network of partners and of associated institutions, both in Europe and Brazil. So in Europe, we are working together with associations and institutions such as SPI in Portugal, such as IASP in Spain, EBN in Brussels, Fraunhofer DLR in Germany, FFG in Austria, SCISD in Hungary, and also the Sabancı University in Turkey. And in Brazil, we are also a partner of the main institution that deals with innovation, science, and technology, such as big company, such as Natura, for example, or big institutions such as the Confederation, the National Confederation of Industries, CNI in Brasilia, big universities such as Unicamp. We also have soft learning hubs in many places in the country, such as Porto Digital in the northeast of Brazil, the Sistema FIEP also in the south of Brazil, or the Technological Park of São José dos Campos, quite well known and famous in Brazil, in the state of São Paulo. So in the end, I just want to say that we have a really well-established coverage of the whole country, wherever you want to go and whatever you want to do in terms of innovation with Brazil. So in the end, what do we offer in terms of help for whoever needs to make this bridge between Europe and Brazil? We have our executive education and training chapter, where we offer training for whoever needs to understand better what's happening in Brazil and being prepared, of course, for making this bridge between Europe and Brazil. We make this networking between decision makers, between startups, investors, universities, research center also happen very pragmatically. We are a matchmaker for funding. If you need to have access to funding, we are also a matchmaker for that. And finally, we have our own soft learning hubs, and that's quite important, of course, because you need some place to go if you want to make some business in Brazil. I want to finalize by showing you just 2 success cases of what we've done until now. So first, I want to tell the story of a big Brazilian company, very well known here, called Natura. Natura is basically a well-being and cosmetic company. It's a very innovative company in Brazil, and they are very into sustainable development too. So Natura promotes a lot of big challenges, innovation challenges, in order to address big questions in sustainability. And one of the last challenges that Natura wanted to make a global call, right? A global access to knowledge and to solution was the zero waste packaging challenge, with the idea of reducing to zero the impact of all kind of logistic package of this company. And they really wanted to have an international access to all kind of solutions, startups, research, whatever can help them to be more sustainable in terms of packaging. Therefore, they came to ENRICH and they asked us how they could have access, to this big network in Europe. This is what we've done. And the result of them having access to this multinational global, pool of ideas for innovation was that 1/3 of the hundreds of answers that they had for the challenge actually came from Europe. So 1/3 of the ideas, 1/3 of the innovations, the startups, the innovation that could help them for the zero waste packaging actually came from Europe. So this is quite interesting result in terms of bringing together Europe and Brazil for innovation. Finally, one last success story I would like to share with you is the innovation and matchmaking tour we organized last year in the south region of Brazil, between Curitiba and Foz do Iguaçu in the state of Paraná, which is basically a southern state in Brazil, more or less at 500 kilometers in the south of São Paulo. So the idea was to bring some researchers, business owners from countries such as Germany, Finland, France, Spain, Portugal, in Brazil, so that they could really meet, their peers, universities, research centers, businesses, policymakers, whoever they wanted to meet in order to foster the development of the innovation, the businesses, the research. And this was a quite well succeed matchmaking tour, where we had really the opportunity of bridging the needs of European with what we have here in Brazil, and then making some concrete partnership happen. And that's basically it for my time. So in conclusion, I just would like to say that ENRICH in Brazil is basically the bridge between Europe and Brazil for science, technology, innovation, and businesses. And we are basically here to serve you. So if you need anything from us, please feel free to get in touch with us or to ask any question. We'll be more than happy to be helpful. Thank you for your time. And I give back now the floor to Chiara.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you very much. If you have questions, please write them in the chat. We go ahead with the next speaker. So Richard had from SPI representing ENRICH in China had some technical problems. So I'm going to ask Marion to present ENRICH in China. Marion, are you?
Yes.
Okay. So Marion Perrine from EBN is going to present you ENRICH in China.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, hi everyone. So as Chiara just mentioned, I'm going to present you the ENRICH in China service portfolio on behalf of my colleague Richard Dang. So first of all, ENRICH in China clients are basically research actors, innovation actors, and business actors. So research actors, you have research centers, innovation actors, all the innovation community, and business actors, it could be either large companies or also SMEs or startups. Yeah. So the different services offered by the ENRICH in China network are the following. So we provide ST intelligence services such as landscape and market analysis or feasibility studies. We also provide regular RDI briefings like updates or newsletters. We deliver trainings and workshops either in China or in Europe. We have also regular webinars. We deliver consultation, expert consultation and coaching on different topics like tech transfer, identification of clients, due diligence, and so on. We also organize various big events like missions to China, B2B matchmaking and brokerage events in Europe or in China. We also have conferences and roadshows. And we have a network of 5 soft landing zones in China, which provide soft landing and co-working services to European companies. So currently, due to the COVID-19 crisis, we had to redefine our service offer and find new ways to implement those services. So basically, we are currently providing mainly online services such as webinars or information sessions. The next webinar will be next week. It will be organized by one of our soft landing zone on the rise of artificial intelligence-driven software. We'll also launch a call for applications, and we'll have an Ask the Expert sessions also at the end of May. We are delivering also COVID-19 related topics webinar. We'll have 2 in the following weeks. All those webinars are free of charge. They are interactive, such as this one. You can ask all the questions you have, and there will be follow-up. You can register for the webinar online on our webpage. So we also have currently an opportunity for innovative companies with solutions dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. We can provide those companies with financial investment opportunities thanks to our large network of Chinese investors. So those companies need to be active on those following sectors. So healthcare, pharma, robotics, IT data processing, and agri-tech. Again, if you are interested, you can visit our webpage and you will find all the necessary information. So this year is quite particular, but we hope to be able to organize 2 of our main annual events. So the first one will be the annual funding forum in Europe, which is about enlarging networks and getting access to funding through valuable contacts. We organized the last one in Brussels last year, and the next one is going to be in Budapest or online. It will depend on the situation. So we will decide soon, and more information will be available on our ENRICH website. We also hope to be able to organize our matchmaking tour in China, but it was supposed to be held in October or November, so it's quite unlikely that it will happen, but we will give you more information soon as well. So it's just to be clear, the matchmaking tour are for delegation of European companies or researchers who wants to expand their network in China and access the market. So we organize 3 to 4 missions like this annually. And finally, as I told you before, we have a network of 5 soft landing zones in China, which are located in 5 different cities, the ones that you can see on the screen. Those organizations provide soft landing services to European clients, such as localization guidance, co-working space offer, administrative support, access to markets, finance and partners, and so on. So you can find all the information on our website, and feel free to send us an email. We'll make sure to respond to reply shortly. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll be available for your questions later.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you very much. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to share them on the chat. And I now give the floor to Robert Sanders, who will be pitching the US Center. Robert from EBN as well.
Thanks, Chiara. And again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us today. So now we're going to move on to the ENRICH in USA overview. Similar objectives and the other 2 initiatives. So we're really trying to help entrepreneurs, startups, scale-ups, and researchers in their journey to create strong international partnerships, in this case with the USA. There's quite a lot of information on the slides, as you've seen, but we are going to share the slides, of course, afterwards. And today is just a chance to give you a quick sort of taster of some of the services in particular that the ENRICH centers can provide. Yeah, so Peter already mentioned the idea of the journey, and I think that's very important again for the international context And there we have how it's presented for the USA in this context, where we hope, first of all, there's a requirement to learn more about the US market, then trying to explore more how the ecosystem works. Obviously here we're very much focusing on innovation. And as Chiara mentioned at the outset, we also had a list of soft landing hubs and centers to provide particular bespoke tailored mentoring and training, obviously taking place in the USA. And of course, a lot of access to finance, access to markets is important as well in the fourth stage. And so really moving on to the commercialization of business development. Of course, we're all a bit stuck at the moment. We're not quite sure when physical meetings can take place, but fingers crossed in a few months we'll be able to develop these strong partnerships again and start visiting clients and visiting mentors and seeing some opportunities and discovering ecosystems. As you realize, the ENRICH Centers is all about taking cohorts of say 10, 20, 30 entrepreneurs and researchers to the countries and have specific services. So again, at the moment, because of the situation, we moved quite a lot of the activities in USA online. So we're still carrying on with various workshops and webinars, still doing some studies on market opportunities. And we also have boot camps that will be running. Some of the trade shows, as you've seen, are still going on, moving virtually. So we're organizing events that are connected to these various trade shows and events. And of course, the finance side as well, maybe a little bit sort of quiet at the moment, but we're still trying to provide opportunities for companies to pitch online and start making those very useful connections, of course. One thing about the USA approach, because there are lots of initiatives, as you know, going towards the USA. I'm sure quite a few of you are plugged into national or regional opportunities, which is great as well. But in ENRICH in USA, there's quite a good connection with the research ecosystem and a strong link to universities. And quite a few of the soft landing hubs, as you saw, and we'll send them out afterwards, are linked to universities. And in this system, you can see that there's also access and connection to research and also training and capacity building, leading obviously more to business connections as well. But I think this is a particular strength of ENRICH in USA, where we put the university ecosystems really at the heart of the global innovation that we're trying to support and progress. So just a quick focus on some of the upcoming events. I said mainly virtual, as we said. Quite a few of those, as you can see, are well connected to very strong existing connections in the research side. The first one there, which is taking place in early May, is a worldwide initiative focusing on COVID-19. The next one is the Innovation Research Interchange. They have an annual conference, which is now virtual, which we're going to partner with, and links to a network of cross-industry leaders. So not just USA, that we know there's a global focus as well, including introductions to global corporations. And then, as I said, the B2B stuff is still going on as well. Some of that is moving online. And in early June there, we have B2B meetings focusing on digital technologies. Again, as I said, all this will be sent on after the webinar, so you can take the references from the slides. Some of you might have heard of the Bio International event. Again, they're moving that to a digital focus. More details are coming up shortly on that. That one's in early June. And at the moment, I believe this one is still taking place physically. We'll have to see how that one goes. Again, sort of reflecting somewhat the strong research also focus on ENRICH in USA. So this is the NIH Technology Showcase. And obviously a particular focus on cancer research. and there you have some of the logos and connections to the partners of these various initiatives. So to finish with, a couple of touch points for you for contacts. So as you'd expect, we have some very strong partners who are physically based in the USA. So certainly you can contact them directly to get more information about what's coming up and how they can help you potentially and link you into some of these programs. Of course, there's a bit of a time difference, so we're also here based at EBN available to take some of your inquiries and forward them and put you into the connections with the right people. And there also you have the various website links. And there's quite a lot actually coming up on LinkedIn as well. That's quite a reactive place for us when things are being announced very, very quickly. We're trying to be very, very flexible. So please also follow the LinkedIn and Twitter accounts. Okay, Chiara, if you'd like to take back the screen.
Yes. So, sorry guys, I'm trying to. Okay. So we're a bit late. I can't see any question for our centers. As mentioned several times, you will be provided with all the presentations and also with a link to the recording of the full session. As mentioned by Felipe, by Marion, by Robert, the centers are here to serve European companies, but also Brazilian, Chinese, and US players. We are here to bridge opportunities, to bridge these ecosystems in order to create more opportunities for international cooperation. So in my follow-up email, you will also be asked to give us your feedback on today's webinar. This will help us improving the services we are offering. It will take you 3 minutes, if I'm exaggerating, and for us, it's really precious. You can follow the centers on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and Facebook. And of course, here are my contact details. Should you need any further information, I'm here to help. I would thank you all for your attention. We are still all here after more than 1 hour talking. I would thank Peter Lazo very much for his training on business pitching, and I would thank Felipe, Marion, and Robert for their pitches about the centers. So we'll be in touch, guys. Stay safe, stay home, and see you the next time. You have seen the centers have very crowded calendars full of opportunities, online trainings, online pitching sessions. So take these opportunities. We are here to serve you. Have a good day, night, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye, everyone.
Ciao, Chiara. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Yes, yes, bye-bye. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.